with this computer. Okay. It's fix.
Hi, I'm Valeria.
Hi, I'm Naomi.
We did our project on epilepsy. Epilepsy is a common neurological condition which is characterized by two reasons. One is two unprovoked seizures occurring at least 24 hours apart, and the other one is one unprovoked seizure with a predisposition for further seizures. Epilepsy affects approximately 470,000 children in the United States alone. It is estimated that at least one-third of these children will have seizures that do not respond to anti-seizure medication. And this is extremely harmful to them because it can cause further damage to their brain. Um, there has also been research that children who live in lower socioeconomic status households have lower have lower have a higher chance of having more seizures throughout their life and will have lower academic performance and lower quality of life.
So this would be basically because since those medicines aren't working for them, although nutrition and other factors do like partake in like maintaining a good balance, helping with epilepsy and stuff, medication is one of the main things that helps control that. And if of course a kid is like completely just it doesn't work for them, it just creates like more seizures and just them having to deal with it without it's kind of out of their control at that point.
We can talk about how epilepsy was viewed in ancient America. People back then thought that people who had epilepsy were possessed by a demon or were just like insane. They didn't think that it had any medical reason behind it. Many children who had epilepsy back then were often hid in mental institutions who did not have their best interests in mind. They weren't treated the best, and they did not receive the help that they needed.
So this also you would see this a lot with like mental health as well. Like mental health back then was not taken serious. You were just insane and there was no really like quote unquote cure or fix to it. And it was shamed upon, of course, even though it was obviously out of these people's control. Like, it was just lack of medical advice and like even us, we didn't know what it was back then. So it kind of just made sure that the people who had epilepsy like were not taken care of properly back then and they were shamed upon obviously back then.
But as time went on, doctors have discovered further research about epilepsy, and yeah, things were changing, but kids were often still hid, and they were often sent to school, which did not have any special program for them, and this could affect them greatly. Um,
This also, because these kids were sent to the school, bullying is one thing that we see a lot within these kids, which can later on like affect different factors in their life. So instead of just affecting like them being affected by that epilepsy, they're also affected by like different mental health illnesses that they pick up from like being bullied.
Now in modern day, we have more technology and more research that helps us understand what epilepsy is and how to help children who have epilepsy. But not everyone is able to receive that help because of socioeconomic statuses, language barriers, not having insurance, or just like not living in a location that you are able to receive help.
Yeah, for example, like we got to like drive around today and then we actually saw some hospitals and they're if you look at them from the outside, they already look outdated, so I can only imagine what they look like from the inside. And this just proves that although some of these patients might like have the funds to do it, they might not be in the best location. So maybe the hospital that's nearest to them just doesn't have anything to help their kid with epilepsy, and then they would have to take other factors like traveling farther, so that would consist of them taking off like from work and stuff, having to attend more appointments at farther distances or like even in different cities, or and it just makes it harder for kids to receive that treatment like as easily as other people have it accessible.
There are also studies that show that African American children and Hispanic children are less likely to get care than white children, and this is due to the way that the system is built. And obviously we all know that like white has always been on top, so everyone else just gets like this like the
The
last,
second hand.
yeah, the second hand. And honestly, the system kind of sucks because it's not fair. Because there are children who like really need the help, but like they don't get it because they're poor, and
Mhm.
that really sucks.
And it's also I feel like there's different factors of it as such like as religion based like just like religious people like don't want to believe in mental health as well there's like certain religions that are like no he's just sick let's pray for him like he will be fine and a prayer cannot do everything especially with something like epilepsy because it consists of seizures and stuff where like people just want to avoid it as much as possible, but it's a thing that they have to come to terms with. And the only way they could come to terms with it is, of course, of accepting it and acknowledging that there is an existing problem.
We also know that there's people that don't trust that don't trust hospitals, so this can cause parents to not want to take their children because because them themselves have been failed by the system and they don't trust it. So they think that their child like has nothing wrong with them, or like they don't think that they'll find out what is wrong with them, or like they just don't believe that they'll get the care that they need.
Mhm.
Um, Epilepsy can cause children to have depression and anxiety, like how she stated before, like due to bullying that goes on in school. And like they also might feel socially isolated because a seizure could happen at any time, and they probably don't want to like put that onto someone else. So they just might isolate themselves.
And then also it could be like kind of like quote unquote embarrassing because it's not something that's normal for certain kids. So it's like, why would you want to be singled out in a class full of like a bunch of your friends where it's like, oh, you're different in this type of way. So of course that creates more depression, them wanting to be alone all the time. So it's like, oh, I don't want you to see me have a seizure, or oh, I don't want to get too close to you because then you have to see that I take medication. So it's just having to like kind of have that vulnerability with people of like I have this and there's different things that I have to do to like maintain a good health and no seizures.
Going back to what epilepsy is, there are some non-genetic risk factors, such as environmental factors. Kids could be exposed to lead and also not have the best nutrition, and this could lead to epilepsy. And this is often seen in kids who live in low income areas with yeah. And also maternal health is another reason because if the mother isn't healthy, then the baby also isn't getting the nutrients that he needs. And this is also seen in low income areas because they don't have the money to get the prenatal care.
Yeah, and of course, like if you're in a location where it's like you're low income already and then there's like food scarcity, like you're only gonna be able to go to places that are close. Like, of course, if you don't have a car, you're gonna want to go walking distance. So obvious and you want to go obviously for the cheaper alternative, which is what you're gonna be able to afford. So of course, if you're living check to check, you're not gonna be spending $200 to $300 on healthy groceries. You rather just go to like a fast food source or something like that, where it's like you could get more for your buck, I guess.
I think that's all we have about epilepsy. Now we want to talk about the app that we made. We made an app to track seizures. It's called EpiTrack. We
Yes.
are pulling it up right now.
Give me a second. Okay. Okay, so this is our app. It is, oh my God, not my music. It is called EpiTrack. And so for the first couple pages, so you are available to have two different profiles. The profile for yourself if you're a patient with epilepsy, and if you're a caretaker. Obviously if you're taking care of someone with epilepsy, that this app is accessible to you too. Um, you get obviously when you click on to like the resources for the person who has epilepsy, you get obviously a notification if you've taken your medicine or not. You could click out of that as well. Then I have medicine tracker. So I looked up some of the most common pills that are prescribed to patients with epilepsy, and I went ahead and I added those. But of course, if any medicine that the patient is taking is not on here, there's an other option, and you're like able to type and it will save. So either way, you're going to be able to check off if the medicine is on there or not. And there's like it tracks your triggers as well, your nutrition, seizures, setting reminders just so everything is like in one place. And emergency, obviously, it will click automatically. Of course, if it's an emergency, it'll call automatically to 911. And so for the caretaker part, so this would be the profile of the patient. It's like a little short bio, the patient name, the age, the school they attend to, location, email, number. So the contact info that would be shared here would be like their doctors, like different hospitals, just a calendar, nutrition tracker, a seizure tracker, and allergy tracker, just to make sure like, they're not taking anything that they don't need to be. And then in this little box, you're able to like click your pinpoint points and you can see, there's no traffic on right now. So if you're looking for like the nearest hospital and the fastest route, that would be accessible to you. So you won't have to like exit out a different app, go into Google and like try to look for a hospital that will help, your patient, obviously, with epilepsy. And and then for the part of the caretaker, if I could pull it up. Um, Okay, yeah. And this is the seizure tracker. So for the individual who's tracking it, like they can track the amount of seizures they're having. Obviously we would hope that amount stays low, but things happen. So yeah, so just the whole point of the app is we wanted to make sure that there was an app that was accessible for both patients and non-patients, and also not overly complicated where it had to take me to the different links. Everything is just in one app, like the multiple trackers, the contact info, even the like helping you find a hospital. So it's like all of that just in one place instead of patients having to use multiple things for like different things. So yeah. And also like we something that we did to kind of stabilize what we wanted to be in the app was we asked a friend whose mother is a caretaker of a person with epilepsy. So this person gave us advice of what to add on there and what are resources that aren't so accessible, and we of course made it accessible for them.
And I think that's all we have on epilepsy. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.